Well, good evening again, friends, and welcome to another episode of Between the Shadows. I am Kristen Pierce, and normally I would follow that up by saying I am joined by my very favorite co-host, Miss Cara Tillitz. But as most of you probably already know, that my dear baby sister and my favorite co-host passed away on January the 11th, 2026, from neuroendocrine carcinoma, stage 4, which is a very aggressive small cell type of cancer, produces in the hormones and things like that. And she put up a very valiant fight for, I say a long time, but really it was not a long time. It was just about 6.5 months that she fought against this cancer. And she would often comment how she wanted to be just as aggressive as this cancer, and the doctors were wonderful. They did every single thing that they could think of for her, and would often comment that her will to fight was so strong and so valiant and so something like they had never seen. But in the end, her body just couldn't keep up with her will to fight. And I just want to say thank you straight off the bat to all of you who have been thinking and praying for her as she was dealing with these past 6.5 months. And now that she's gone, I want to say thank you for your prayers and your thoughts for me and my family as we continue to navigate what continues to be a very difficult time. We just had a gorgeous ceremony for her, and I feel like my family and I did our very best to honor her in the way that she would have wanted to be honored. We had about 100 to 150 people turn out for her service, and that really overwhelms me just to see how many people she truly impacted, and for her to think that she just didn't matter that much, to see all these people that were affected by her life and her love for them. It's truly overwhelming and truly makes me grateful for the friends and family that have just surrounded her and surrounded us. As far as this podcast goes, we started this together because it was something that we love to do and something that I know brought her joy, and it definitely brought me joy as well. And she urged me to continue doing this thing that we started together. And I don't know quite how I'm going to do that just yet, but to honor her, I am going to continue. And I've had a couple of people step up and offer to help me lead the discussion, and I'm so grateful for that. And she may have not always been comfortable or able to lead the discussion and chat as much as I do, because I know I do a lot of the talking, as we've been told in recent months. But she was always ready to jump in with her opinion and her passion about this show. And I would love nothing more than for her to be sitting next to me, ready to jump in at any moment with those opinions. And I truly, truly miss her very, very much. And so I've decided that before I even try to continue on with this show, I thought that it was only fitting that I dedicate an entire episode to my sister, Cara. And I want to talk about her, and I want to talk about her impact on this podcast, and maybe share some of her best moments and her best quotes on this show. And I hope you'll indulge me, and I hope you'll help me celebrate and honor Cara Elizabeth Tillitz.
One night, I had a dream. It was a girl on a train, and she was riding along a rocky coastline. I can remember the waves smashing on the rocks, and in the dream, I knew that somehow she was being hired as a governess to work in this big house. The train drops her off at this little one-horse station. It's nighttime, and she steps out onto the empty platform, and the train pulls away into the darkness and the mist, and she's standing there all alone. And I woke up.
When Cara and I first started Between the Shadows, it was on April the 10th, 2021, on our dad's birthday, because he's the one who introduced us to Dark Shadows. And I don't really want to rehash all of that, but on that very first episode, we didn't really know what the direction of the show was going to be. We didn't really have a plan. but we did know that we just wanted to start a podcast and talk about Dark Shadows. And so that very first episode, we just kind of talked all over the map about Dark Shadows and the impact that it had in our lives. So I want to share with you Cara's thoughts and the impact on her in that very first episode.
It's like Dark Shadows was my first taste of the macabre and like vampires, stuff like that, werewolves, witches. You know, that was my first taste of what all that was. And since then, I mean, I've always been interested and intrigued. And it started with Dark Shadows. Well, and the point where David and with Josette's ghost, that's the moment you find out. And I feel like that's the first moment that things start getting weird and that you learn that David is clairvoyant.
Yep. Yeah.
Talking to ghosts, talking to the dead. He's clairvoyant.
And it doesn't bug him at all.
And that's when, like watching those beginning episodes before Barnabas, when David has that moment with the portrait and with the ghost.
Yep.
You find out he's clairvoyant. That's when I got chills, and that's where I really got hooked. I was like, oh my God, it's getting weird, it's getting cool. I can't wait.
I'm so happy that we finally sat down and did this. This is,
yes.
This has been so many years in the making. And
we were talking about, it was the type of show, it was a one and done shoot type of thing, and I love the fact that it was the type of show, and everyone talks about this in all their interviews, that there was no time to go back and reshoot the flood lines. It's like, I love the rawness. Yeah, it just makes it more real. It's not perfect, but it's natural.
It's natural. And it's not overproduced.
To me, it's totally believable. It's like talking to somebody in real life. It's not rehearsed. It's, and I just take like, the flubs and seeing all the boom mics and the shots and all that. Like, I just take that as the bloopers that we possibly would have never seen.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and that wasn't a thing that they did back then,
Yeah.
It's just like, here you go. If you screw up, well, there's always tomorrow.
Somebody shooing a fly out of their face or flubbing their line and repeating it. It's bloopers you probably would have never seen.
So anyone who listens to the podcast knows that Between the Shadows got a couple of guest spots on other podcasts, Resident of Collinwood and Tara at Collinwood. And before I go on here, I just want to say thank you so much to Danielle and to Jewel, both of you, for giving me permission and allowing me to use some of the clips from both of your shows to honor Cara in this episode. So with that being said, this next one comes from our very first guest spot on Tara at Collinwood, when Miss Penny was asking about how we got involved in Dark Shadows and what drew us to Dark Shadows and then what drew to the podcast. And it's got such a quirky Cara moment, and I love it so much. So
I want to talk about what inspired you to launch your podcasts, and I also want to hear about what got you into Dark Shadows in the first place. So let's start with Cara and Kristen, and then we'll go over to Jewel, and I want to hear all about this.
I know you'll hear it from both Kristen and I evenly, but we got started with Dark Shadows. Our dad introduced us when we were very small children. He was watching it live as a kid, rushing home. He was watching it live, and he continued to watch it after we were born, and it stuck with us forever. So,
was your dad getting the DVDs or the tapes from MPI or?
Yes. Yes.
We every weekend he would have a new Dark Shadows disc from Netflix when Netflix was sending you discs, and we would watch them every weekend.
Oh, that's fantastic. Very cool. Did you ever get into any of the merchandise or anything like that?
Definitely. The separate collections themselves, and then finally my most prized possession, I got the coffin box set. Thing. It was like my most prized possession right now.
Yeah, that coffin set, everybody loves that, and it's such a cool thing to have. So how old were you at this point?
I'm 33 right now.
Oh, no, I meant at that time when you were watching.
You just gave away your age.
I can edit that if you want.
Oh my gosh, we had to have been 5, 6, and 7 in the beginning when we first saw it.
Oh, nice.
Pretty much their entire lives.
Very cool. And then what led to the podcast?
The podcast, every time we got together, all we could talk about is Dark Shadows. And I'm like, eventually we've got to do something with this, because this is all we talk about when we get in the same room and we go our separate ways, and we both continue to keep watching it. It's like we should do something with this. And then COVID came, and that was the time of podcasts. I'm like, we could do this, and it just kind of took off from there. And it's been one of the biggest things that brings me joy in life is this podcast. Yeah. I love it so much.
Awesome. And yeah, you guys have just a great rapport together when you're speaking with your sisters. So it's clear that, you have that great bond as you're discussing the show. For sure. and yeah, the same for me during COVID. It was just like the perfect time to, when that was going on. It was like, well, I can't really go anywhere. I can't do a whole lot. And it's just, I've loved Dark Shadows my whole life. And I just felt like
we had never found so much free time on our hands. And then COVID came. It's like, we got to do this. We got to do something.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
So this next one comes from the episode when we were talking about Bill Malloy's death. And as many Dark Shadows fans knows, that when you have a story arc, oftentimes there's other things that go along with it. And during this Bill Malloy story arc time, Burke was still trying to destroy the Collins family and take over everything that they had built and things like that. And this was a moment where we introduced the character of Sarah Johnson. And it's always fun when we get to introduce a character on a show and we kind of just geek out about it. And this was kind of one of my favorite moments with Cara. So Burke, he's not getting anywhere. He's spinning his wheels in the mud. So he enlists the help of Sarah Johnson. Mrs. Johnson, who becomes a staple in Dark Shadows. She is there. Sarah Johnson shows up at this moment and never leaves. She's on till the end.
Like when we were little, when we just saw like the post Barnabas stuff, like we never saw the pre stuff. We're like, oh, Mrs. Johnson, she's always been the housekeeper of Collinwood. But no, she was Bill Malloy's housekeeper.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I will be perfectly honest. We've already discussed it. We've been Dark Shadows fans all of our lives. But I just recently watched, not recently, but like in the past few years, have just watched the beginning because it was never available until the box set came out.
Right.
And I never knew where Mrs. Johnson came from. She was just always there.
Yeah, I just always thought, well, she's always been the housemaid at Collinwood. She was one of the few staff that stayed. That's what I thought.
Right, exactly. She was the one, because Liz fired all the staff when Paul left, and I thought, oh, that was the one that she kept.
Yeah.
When we did the Laura Collins, the Phoenix story arc, it was kind of an intense couple of episodes. We did a 2-parter. And towards the end, when we were talking about Laura burning up in the shack and David being saved right at the last moment, it did kind of make us a little bit emotional. And Cara had some really good thoughts on the ending of that, kind of bringing it in for a landing. And she had a really good thought and comment about how it affected Roger.
Roger finds out after, thankfully, David runs to Vicky instead of Laura. In the end here, Roger finds out what has happened, and he's just shook. He goes up to check on David while he sleeps.
Yeah.
Probably for one of the first times he's ever done that.
Yeah, he's actually been genuinely concerned about his son.
And like you just said, this is the first time we see a real genuine moment between Roger and David. Like him just, it's like checking on your little baby just to make sure they're still breathing in the crib.
Right,
he
exactly.
just wants to check on David, make sure he's all right. And this is the moment we start to see a healthy relationship between father and son. And I just think that Roger realized he came dangerously close to losing David, and not in the sense that David was just going away with his mother. Mm-hmm. He realized that David nearly died, and I think it changed something in Roger. And I think in this moment he realized just how much he does love his son. Mm-hmm. Even though this was an intense sequence of events, it was very heartwarming to see this relationship finally take a positive turn.
So it is no secret how much Barnabas Collins is loved by Dark Shadows fans. Young and old, far and wide, everybody knows and loves the character of Barnabas Collins. And Cara and I are no different. And But when Cara talked about Barnabas, she had such a passion when she was talking about him. And everyone who listens to our show or has seen our guest spots knows that the only person that Cara loves more than Barnabas Collins is Quentin Collins. But these are some excerpts of some of the things that she had to say about the character of Barnabas Collins.
There's quotes I saw from Jonathan, over the years. There's quotes about him playing Barnabas and how he felt about it. And I loved what he said. He said, "I love to play horror for horror's sake. Inner horror. I mean, I never thought I created fear with the fang business of Barnabas. I always felt foolish doing that part of it. The horror part I like was the lie." And then he goes on to say, "It was the particular qualities of playing the character Barnabas Collins that I enjoyed, not simply portraying a vampire. As an actor, I have certain instincts and I put them to work. Contrasting qualities are important in any role and can be brought out even when no such qualities are indicated in the script. I think it's necessary to create a positive and negative force within a particular character. I love to totally submerge myself into a character rather than simply duplicating my own self. It was the constant changing, the opportunity of going back and forth from good to evil, that was so thrilling."
So this next clip, I just wanted to give a little bit of context. So we're still staying on the topic of Barnabas Collins. We were talking about when Victoria Winters was transported to 1795, and she is coming up on the old house and she can't figure out what's different about it, and Barnabas as a human walks out and sees her, and she meets him and thinks it's the Barnabas Collins of her time, but it's actually Barnabas Collins the human instead of the Barnabas Collins that she knows. And this is just a little excerpt of what Cara had to say about that.
And I love this first look at Barnabas on screen as an alive and well human being, like a man. Almost like you can see it in Jonathan's face in that scene, like, this is my time to shine.
Yes.
For this Barnabas.
Yes.
I haven't gotten to portray him as just a human, a man yet.
Agree. Well, yeah, because we talked about the interview with Jonathan Frid where he was like, it wasn't the fang business that I enjoyed doing. That's not the part that I feel brought fear. It was playing the many different facets of Barnabas. You've got up until this time, all we've had is Barnabas Collins, the vampire, and sometimes the reluctant vampire. Now we have Barnabas, the human, completely human.
Fresh. Like the fresh Barnabas.
Yes.
Like, he's got no woes in his past, no secrets hidden. He's just Barnabas.
It's so funny. I remember the first time I ever saw this scene when I was a kid and we were teenagers. Because Barnabas has been kind of a jerk up until this point, and then he walks out of the old house and she says, "Barnabas," and the look on his face, he just turns around because he's very surprised. I'm like, oh crap, he's gonna get her, forgetting that he's not a vampire anymore, but I say anymore, this is obviously before, but
he comes out and she's trying to convince him and everything that they know each other, but he's just trying to convince her right back that they haven't.
I don't know you.
And she happens to notice his clothes, makes a comment about the clothes he's wearing. Then the door opens again and there's Sarah.
Alive and well.
Sarah pops out and the first thing she says is, "It's her, it's her."
Yes.
Goes on about that this is my new governess, and Barnabas is like, "Is that who you are?"
So this one comes courtesy of Joel T. Sains from Resident of Collinwood, when we did a special with him about the Leviathan storyline and talking about how Barnabas has changed since being taken over by the Leviathans, and this is what Cara had to say about that.
So what were your thoughts about the new and revived evil Barnabas here?
It was different. It was hard to know what to think in the beginning, because you're like, obviously, what's going on? And honestly, when he disappeared into that altar, my thoughts were like, oh my God, did they kill him?
Yeah.
Is Barnabas going to come back?
He's a goner.
So when he does come back and it's like, what did they do to him?
Yeah.
Is he possessed? Is he, what? I don't know.
Did he sell his soul?
I don't know.
The thing is it's like, it's not that we haven't seen Barnabas evil before.
Yeah.
Because he's been a vampire and he's given into his urges and he's a creature of darkness and he can't friggin' help himself, poor man. But so we've seen him be a heel. We've seen him be evil, but not on this level. Like this level was totally different.
Yeah.
Like he was
Like his whole attitude, his whole stature, like it was just
like even his eyes had changed, I thought.
Yeah.
Like just had that very I mean sinister, but on a whole different level.
but almost blank.
Almost blank, yeah. Like something else was
That obviously he wasn't thinking for himself.
Yeah.
For
yeah,
once.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. It was
Yeah, it's like a mixture of some sort of weird mind control.
right.
And
Yeah.
like he had almost like he had no soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny coming speaking about a vampire with no soul. But yeah, if you have more
Yeah.
souls.
He had more souls of vampire, yeah.
So this next one also comes courtesy of Joel T. Sains from Resident of Collinwood. And once more, I just want to say thank you so much to both Joel and Danielle from Terror at Collinwood for allowing me to pull clips from both of y'all's show to honor Cara. I really appreciate it. She had so many good things to say. And honestly, the questions that you asked helped. Looking at you, Joel. So this next one comes from an episode that we did on Resident of Collinwood where Joel asked the question, did Barnabas cause the curse that Angelique put on him? Did he do that to himself? And this is what Cara had to say about the curse on Barnabas.
And when Barnabas, again, a moment too late, but in the very end, it's like their life flashes before his eyes together. And in every single situation, good or bad, whatever, who was always there?
Who was always there?
Was Angela.
Who was always there to bail him out?
He's like, you know what? Maybe I did love you. And like you said, he cursed himself.
Yeah.
You did it to yourself.
Yeah.
To a point.
That's loyalty,
Yeah.
It's like death death would take mercy, but this is devotion. A curse takes devotion.
Yeah.
And Angelique was devoted to Barnabas in that way.
Devoted to Barnabas.
We all are hopelessly devoted.
So we're going to jump back to Terror at Collinwood with Miss Penny Dreadful. This clip comes from the Dark Shadows Podcast Summit episode that we did with Alan Gallant and Joel T. Sains and Patrick McRae and Gordon Domowski. And the question that was asked is, what are your thoughts when and if we get a new Dark Shadows series? How it should be? What do you want to see? And I thought Cara's thoughts were very interesting on this.
For sure. I'm more concerned, I think, about whatever platform it's on, trying to put in their own 2 cents and putting their spin on it and putting, what they think their demographic is going to want. And that's more my concern. Now, you mentioned Patrick, Barnabas, and Julia. So you're saying recast Barnabas and Julia, new Barnabas and Julia.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes,
gotta have Barnabas and
absolutely.
Julia.
I
think
mean,
you gotta- Yeah.
why can't you have an Anson Mount to Jonathan Frid's Jeffrey Hunter?
Yeah.
I mean, how many Sherlock Holmes have we had? How many Doctor Who's have we had? How many James Bonds and Tarzans
Spock
have we had?
Yeah.
How many Spocks have we had?
Yeah. Tara, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, not to repeat Patrick, but on a level of what he was saying, that classicness of Dark Shadows doesn't have to change.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't have to change. I feel like there is just a bit of that it does need to be, kind of today, like in modern times, like as far as like the decade we're in, like when we remake it, I feel like it does demand to be modern in that sense, like being today, like it would feel weird, with Dark Shadows with cell phones or like the internet, it would feel weird,
Right.
but there is a way you could do it to keep, a classic feel. And I feel like that would make it even more exciting if we did time travel in a Dark Shadows today. Like it would just make it that much more, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but
removed.
Yeah.
Cara, that is one thing I like about the 2004 pilot, and it's that there's no cell service in Collinsport. Doesn't work. And there are I was just in Vermont, in rural Vermont recently to go see the eclipse. No cell service where I was. There are places where there are no cell service. Collinsport would 100% be one of those places. You can't use your cell phone in Collinsport. Sorry.
So, continuing in this same episode from the Dark Shadows Podcast Summit, we were discussing the topic of fans, old and young, being gatekeepers of the show and claiming that younger people who weren't first-gen watchers don't know or can't appreciate the show in the way that the first-gen watchers, the ones who ran home from school every day to watch the show, appreciated it. And I think we were all in agreement that we just feel like that isn't the truth. But I did really like what Cara had to say about it.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Cara, any thoughts on gatekeeping? Have you encountered any of that at all?
I mean, truly so far, like Gordon and Alan have really said it. But I mean, it's easy to feel like you know it all. Like when you're a huge fan, it's easy to feel like you know it all and feel like a gatekeeper, like you could be. But that's also the beauty in everybody's opinion, is that we can all come together on that. That's the point of everybody having their opinions and not nobody being a gatekeeper about it. Like we want to hear people's ideas or thoughts or what they know that we may not know. That's the beauty in it of it all. And that's my opinion. I mean,
I agree with you. Yeah.
So this was an episode where we talked about the death of Sarah Collins. It was part of the 1795 story arc. And in this particular clip, Cara was talking about Nathan and Millicent in the graveyard looking for Sarah. And she kind of went off on a little bunny trail, I guess you want to call it, about how she felt about Millicent and that she thought Millicent was a little bit clairvoyant. It was something that I found very interesting, so that's something I'd like to share with you now.
I want to go on a thing about Millicent real quickly. Because,
get on your soapbox, it's all good.
But she points out, while her and Nathan are out looking for Sarah, you know, he's trying to get her to go back home because I'll do it. And she's like, no, I need to help look for Sarah in this. And she looks at Nathan and she points out the graveyard and asks if he has looked there yet. And he's like, a child wouldn't think of going to a graveyard at night. They're terrified of him. I'm sure she wouldn't go there. And this is just me, but I think a lot of people, I guess in the show or whatever, this is just me, guys. Sorry. This is just me. But I think that Millicent, and I think I've mentioned it before, I think Millicent is a little clairvoyant. I think she is. And I think a lot of people mistake her flightiness and her just being ill. And like I said previously, I don't know if they meant physically ill or mentally ill, but I think they mistake that for just her kind of being in touch with the other side. And of course she's not all there because she's on the other side too, like looking at other things. I know it wasn't Millicent that Pansy possessed, but it still kind of fit because it was still Nancy Barrett's, whoever she was playing, and it just kind of fit. But anyways, but it was that. She's like, well, why didn't you would you look in the graveyard? He's like, no, she'd never go there. But she's like, but look in the graveyard.
Yeah, it's like, it's a good point.
And also, like, beforehand, going back just a little bit for a minute, beforehand, when her and Nathan had just gotten back from their date or whatever, just watch the eclipse or whatever it was, they got on the subject quickly of Barnabas and how, you know, he just left so quickly. And she's like, I just saw him like 2 days before. And
isn't it lucky that there was a ship in the middle of the night, you know?
And then that's what she said. And when she just kind of blew it off, she's like, oh, well, lucky there was a ship.
Yeah, in the middle of the night,
But I just think they just mistake her flightiness and being a blonde, whatever you want to call it.
Millicent was your ultimate blonde. I just... But I think you're right. I think she was in touch where others weren't. So
I just wanted to say that.
I
put that in there again.
I think I could probably agree with you.
If it's not just me, say something, guys.
Right.
So this next one comes from the very next episode in our series, the death of Josette Dupre, and we were once more talking about Nathan and Millicent, but we were talking more about how we thought and we had heard that Nathan Forbes was one of the most despicable characters on the show, which in turn puts him up with best of the worst villains on the show. And it's not anything terribly profound, but it does make me laugh every time I hear it. And it's been really good hearing Cara laugh again and hearing her smile, you know, and just make her little quirks and her little quips. And this was one of those moments.
And up to this point, Nathan has upheld his
good guy facade. Yeah.
I think everyone would be thrilled at this point.
I heard on Tara at Collinwood, hi Penny, when they were talking about 1795, her guest, I am so sorry, I don't remember her name, but she was saying there was no more despicable character on Dark Shadows than that of Nathan Forbes.
I agree.
And I have to agree.
And you got to think about Jason McGuire.
Yes.
You've got to think about even freaking Count Patofi.
Yes.
Somebody like him, or
those were just
Bruno, for that matter.
Yes, or Aristide. Or even coming right down to it, Barnabas Collins.
Barnabas Collins. Even down to our lovable Barnabas.
Yes. Nathan Forbes.
Despicable.
Even at the tail end of 1795, where he finally gets his, the things that he does, it made me want.
It wasn't good enough the first time that Barnabas had to go back and get him again.
Yes, and yes,
for
exactly.
real.
Exactly. So yes, I absolutely agree.
That's how bad and despicable that man was.
Yes, exactly.
You had to do it twice. You had to go back and kill him twice.
Mm-hmm. This is where Nathan starts to reach the peak of how despicable he is, or at least he starts
to show his true colors.
He starts to show him. The first episode after Josette dies, we're kind of looking at Millicent a little bit. Yeah. She's kind of not really gone crazy yet, but I definitely think this was the start of her mental illness because of Nathan.
Right. And so that's when we flash to Collinwood, and Joshua's in the drawing room, and Naomi enters, and they're just kind of mourning over Josette right now, and says the Countess has cried herself to sleep, and Millicent enters shortly after. She says she's been in her room all day, and Joshua tells her about Josette's death. And just what she said here, I don't know, it just, again, it's that intuition of hers, that second sight. And she's like, indeed, at least she died still loving Barnabas. And then she's like, I should like my last thoughts to be filled with love, not hate. I've often heard that death is less frightening than life. And here cousin Barnabas returned from England. Who knows what he would return as? Men change, and seldom for the better.
Yeah, man, I saw that. I was like, boy, you have no idea how right you are.
But I feel like she knows she's right. She knows she's not stupid.
Yeah.
She just, this second sight just kind of makes her a little mental.
Yeah, like, I agree.
Mentally unstable, or whatever they want to.
I agree.
So after her babbling about that and stuff and acting strange, she decides to go out for a walk at night. Barnabas is in the graveyard talking, quote unquote, to Jeremiah, talking aloud to Jeremiah's grave, just turmoiling over Josette. And then he hears a voice from behind him say his name, and it's Millicent. She's found him.
Right.
And she says that she's happy to see that he's come back. Ben is also there, obviously close by. He's always close by, behind Barnabas. And he calls out to Millicent, and that gives Barnabas a quick chance to disappear.
Right. And he does.
He does. And when she turns back, he's gone. And she tells Ben that she saw Barnabas and asks where he went. And Ben tries to convince her that she didn't see him at all, and offers to walk her back home. And she tells Ben that she has come to the graveyard to choose her final resting place.
Yes.
And he's thinking that weird, like just trying to get her back home.
Right. Take her back home. I don't understand you at all.
But she's like, no. So she kind of leads him into the mausoleum, and she's like, and again, she's got a great way with words, I think, but she's like, today is the day I die, and this is the day I want to be remembered. No matter how long I may live, I died this day, and may Nathan Forbes know that I consider this the day of my death.
Well, okay. I get that, because she's been heartbroken, and this is her way of expressing it. I believe no matter what day I die, this is the day. Like, everything changed for her on this day.
Right. And I'm a different person.
So I get that for sure.
So the clip that was just played when we were talking about Millicent and the way that she had changed after Nathan betrayed her, it really resonated with me. And maybe it's a little bit obvious, maybe it's the obvious choice or whatever, and maybe it's a little too easy to think that, but it really did resonate with me when Millicent talked about how this was the day that she died. This was the day that everything changed for her. And it resonated with me because of what has just happened with my sister. And honestly, living life every day, talking to her, living life every day, laughing with her, and sometimes not always laughter. Sometimes it was sadness. Sometimes it was frustration. Families fight, siblings fight, but there was always a genuine love with Cara. She loved very hard. She was loyal to a fault, and she always carried about her a hope for her life, for her situation, and hope for others too. And that is something that will stay with me for the rest of my life, is her hope and her ability just to see the good and see the positive. And even when she was sick and just not feeling well because of chemo, because her body hurt because of this cancer, she still talked about the future and her future plans and what she hoped her life would be. But Cara, if you can hear me, I just want you to know that my life changed the day that you left us. And my life will never be the same. And a piece of me died with you as well, because I will never be the same, because there is a piece of my life that is now gone because you're gone. And that's the reason I resonated with Millicent so much in this scene, and I just wanted to share that with you all. I wanted to add this next clip because Cara is talking about Ben Stokes' loyalty to Barnabas, especially after the marriage betrayal, after Josette and Jeremiah have ran off, and she's just kind of talking about how Ben felt in that moment, even though he couldn't truly express himself because of the curse that Angelique put on him and not being able to name the witch. But he does try to get his feelings out as best he can, and I really like what Cara had to say in this moment.
And after Andre leaves this scene, it's one of those other parts that I love for Ben. Barnabas basically looks at Angelique and Ben. He's like, look, I don't want you guys to speak a word of what you've seen or what you've heard tonight. There's no reason to get everybody all riled up when there's probably a simple explanation for this. And Ben, you see Angelique looking and smirking in Barnabas's direction, like behind him, like just her sinister smirk. And Ben sees her looking at Barnabas that way. And he looks at Barnabas and he's like, Mr. Barnabas, I'm sorry about what happened. Like just stabbing Angelique, just giving it to her. And
he digs at her as best he can without actually coming out and
after everything she's doing to him and everyone else right now, and the part where Barnabas is like, there's no point in worrying everyone else about it when there's probably a simple explanation for all of it. And again, the look on Ben's face, he's just heartbroken for him looking at Barnabas. He's just heartbroken. You could see it. He wants to say something so bad. Like he's looking at Barnabas with a broken heart, and then he looks back at Angelique. Like, you could freaking tell him right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You could just come clean and be like, yeah, it's me. What are you going to do about it? Even if she is a witch, what are you going to do about it?
Right, exactly. How are you going to stop her?
Kind of at this point. So it's like, he's like,
well, even Angelique said herself, this plan's in motion and not even I can stop it, you know?
Yeah. It broke my heart, but the love for Barnabas from Ben, it's one of the purest in the show, I think.
I think it goes past loyalty. I think Ben was very fond of Barnabas.
Yeah.
Because Barnabas was so kind to him, and Barnabas didn't treat him like he was lower. Yeah, he was lower because he was a convict and he was a servant, and all he was working out his time, you know?
Like Barnabas, I mean, granted, yes, he was a vamp when he met Willie, but he treated Ben much more better than he ever treated Willie. Right. Even after the fact, like with Willie, he treated him better, but he was still like, Willie.
Yeah, Willie. And he made Willie do some stuff that he never made Ben do, even after he became a vampire.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that he made Willie do.
I mean, Willie should have had the same respect in the end game that Ben did from
Absolutely.
Barnabas.
And in my book, he do. He definitely does. So
I mean, that's just one of the purest loves in this show, I think, is Ben's love for Barnabas, just because he's the only one who ever showed him any consideration or kindness and never treated him lower.
And honestly, now that we're talking about it, a little bunny trail here, but now that we're talking about it, it's like when he woke up in 66, he was still a new vampire.
He was,
honestly, because he only had
he had a season of being a vampire.
I would say maybe 6 months, and that's maybe being generous.
Yes.
Of how long he had before his dad chained him up.
Yes.
So when he woke up almost 200 years later, he only had that much time to experience what he is. And so, like you said, when he's in 66, like he's still experiencing the magnitude of his powers, and how much control he really does have over people like Carolyn.
Right.
When we come back from the past, Carolyn, we forget in a moment that when we come back, she's still under his power.
Right.
And he's still kind of new at this and still learning.
See, and that's the thing. Like with Ben Stokes, he never once bit Ben. Ben was just loyal.
He was just loyal.
Ben was just loyal.
Yes.
But when he woke up out of the coffin, he bit Willie. And that's why Willie was so loyal at first. And I think that's when he realized I could actually put someone under my power and get them to do my bidding.
Willie was the guinea pig.
He was.
Really, because in 1795, when Barnabas bit, he killed.
Yes, he did.
So Willie was the first experiment guinea pig for the way he works things now.
And I mean, the only person that he didn't kill that he bit was Josette, but he had the intention of killing her.
Of killing her, yes, he did.
And I can't think of another person. If there's somebody out there, guys, let us know.
Yeah, let me know if I'm missing something.
In 1795, that he bit her, didn't kill her, but had the intention of killing her.
Yeah.
And the first person that he bit and didn't kill was Willie.
Yeah.
And same with Maggie. He bit her, intended to kill her, and didn't.
And didn't.
So
Carolyn, he did. Yes, House of Dark Shadows, he did. But we're talking about the show, and no, he didn't.
We just got off a podcast with Joel talking about the movie, so it's still pretty fresh.
But no, he didn't kill, in the show, he didn't kill Carolyn. Everybody, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like nobody else died from the bite.
No.
Since the past.
Yes.
Since the past. So, now that we're on that, we finished that bunny trail. The wind will speak his name, and the clock will chime the hour. But dare it strike again, you will know the darkness of the tomb. He will beg for the darkness of death itself. If you would know his name, listen to the wind.
So I could not do this episode, this memorial, all about Cara Tillitz, without mentioning something she said about the dream curse. And in this particular segment, we were talking about the door that Julia went through during the dream. And we were going back and forth about how we thought, or what we thought her door meant for her specifically, because we had mentioned when we did the Dream Curse saga that we felt like every door that someone went through was specific to them for whatever reason. And we were kind of going back and forth on what we thought Julia's door meant to her, why it was specific to her. And then of course that got on a bunny trail about how some people, they get involved with dark things because deep down it's what they want. And so this is something that I want to share with you. I thought it was very interesting.
And I'm not going to bunny trail, guys, but what she saw behind her door meant so much more than what we even know right now.
Here's what I'm trying to decide what her door represents. And I could say, here's what I could say. I could say that the skeleton was maybe her fear of failing with the experiment.
Okay.
But what I'm more inclined to believe is that it's her fear of what she will become if Barnabas reverts.
Let me tell you my theory.
Okay.
Now that I thought you were going to say it, but let me tell you mine.
No, I'm ready.
I don't want a bunny trail because we're going to get into it, but I got to say it. I think that it represented her solo project with Eve.
Oh, snap. I didn't even think of that.
I think that's what that represented.
That does come into fruition.
Because that was her solo project. She went off of Lang's notes, yes.
But that was her.
But that was her solo.
That was her creation.
Chosen, agreed to project.
And here's the thing. Julia did a much better job with Eve. Did you see how beautiful Eve was?
Yes.
Marie Wallace, baby. She was gorgeous.
She wasn't ugly.
She was beautiful.
She had no scars.
No scars.
No stitching.
Nothing.
No Frankenstein. Nothing.
She was beautiful. And so my thought, if Barnabas reverts back to a vampire, he might lose all hope.
Yeah.
And embrace Julia as a willing victim and a lover, and perhaps turn her into a vampire as well, or she will die being his victim.
And you want to know something? Julia was the only, correct me if I'm wrong on the spot, Julia was the only one willing to go that far. And kind of Queen of the Damned moment, she wanted it.
She wanted it, yeah.
She wanted it. I want this.
Yeah.
I know what it's all about. I know everything about it, and I want it.
I mean,
on a certain
okay. Now here's
level.
another bunny trail for you. Going on that, so we don't talk about this film very often, but Tim Burton's Dark Shadows. What did Julia Hoffman do? She took Barnabas's blood and became a vampire herself because she wanted it.
What did I say?
What did you say? So I just had to point that out because you said that in one interpretation, that's exactly what happened. In Tim Burton's Dark Shadows, that's what happened.
It's like Lang, like how bizarre, how fanatic are you? Not really, I hate to say fanatic, I don't want to say that, but how bizarre and how willing are you for to go for your own discoveries?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, this was
but also your own personal, deep, dark interests.
Yes,
because it's
definitely.
really who you are.
Definitely.
That's why you're into this anyways,
It's
and
like,
studying it anyways.
I'm sorry I keep going back to this, but when we talked about, because I got so invested in this, when we talked 1970 Parallel Time with Penny, I got so invested because it's one of my favorite sagas of the show.
Yeah.
But when we talked about it with her, we talked about the Jekyll and Hyde scenario with Cyrus Longworth and John Yeager. You know, we couldn't. It's like, why did he keep becoming John Yeager? Because he wanted to. Because it fascinated him. Because evil was something that was not in his makeup, but he knew somewhere deep inside he wanted that.
Penny hit the nail on the head. She said that because that was Cyrus.
Yes, it wasn't two different people. I mean, John Yeager was a part of Cyrus Longworth.
The dark spot on his heart.
Yes.
It was John Yeager is because that is Cyrus.
That was Cyrus deep down inside him.
Nail
was
on the
Joan
head,
Baker.
period. Like,
so,
and love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night.
All right, so this next clip comes from when we were talking about Julia's solo project when she was creating Eve. And this isn't really about the Eve project so much, because we all know, those of us who watch Dark Shadows knows that there's oftentimes a little side story or other things going on. And this is something that Cara had to say about one of the side stories that went on during that, when Willie had Maggie locked in the mausoleum because he didn't want her to be used as the life force for Eve. And as Maggie is locked up in that coffin room, in the secret room in the mausoleum, she is beginning to remember all of the things that went down when Barnabas kidnapped her. And Cara talks about something called OOPs, objects of power. And I really love how she explained this, and I really love how she brought it up. And then we started talking about different objects of power in Dark Shadows.
So we're back to Maggie in the cemetery, and she's in the secret room. And Willie knocked her out with the chloroform again before he left. And she's dreaming about the old house and the things that went on there while she was being held captive. And it's very vague. But she wakes up and realizes those things really happened, and that she's actually afraid of Barnabas, like truly. But can't figure out why, while just resting her hands on the coffin.
yeah, this whole time she's like, why am I afraid of Barnabas? Why am I afraid of Barnabas? All this time her hands are resting on that coffin.
Yes.
And it does start to come back like this. She doesn't quite remember everything that happened, but she knows for sure that she's afraid.
Yeah.
And the way she remembers it, it's like she's putting her current self back there. Like she's wearing her normal, sweet little cute Maggie Evans dress, and she remembers Willie giving her another dress to wear, like Josette's dress.
Yeah.
And the tinkling from the music box. That what did you call it the other day when we were talking about this?
Anybody who knows Remedy games, plays video games, Remedy specifically, they make Control and Alan Wake, and in Control specifically, they talk about things that are called objects of power.
Objects of power.
OOPs.
Yeah.
And it's a type of altered item connected to the astral plane. And things like that in Dark Shadows, like the coffin, her just resting her hands on the coffin and just, it's like the second you touch it, you get all these flashbacks.
Right.
Or like Josette's music box. Like, they just remind me of OOPs. And
it's so true though. You guys, okay, I have to pause just here for a minute. I have to confess something. When I was coming to edit this episode, I went to edit what we had recorded a few days ago and discovered that, we had our first and second point of this and nothing else. So this is a re-record, guys. So we're trying to remember everything that we said. And I remembered the objects of power, and I couldn't remember what you had called it, but I definitely wanted to talk about it. So thank you.
But yeah, things like that in Dark Shadows, or like even Julia's medallion. Like
that is certainly an object of power, I think.
And what Patofi's hand, stuff like
Quentin's portrait.
Yes, the portraits.
And I think we're getting way ahead, guys. I'm sorry, but Charles Delaware Tate.
Oh yeah,
I believe he himself
is a object of power.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely,
I think so. So, but this tinkling from the music box that kind of jogged my memory, and I was like, okay, what did Cara call that? I cannot remember.
OOPs, objects of power.
Okay, so this next one isn't really a good point that's being made. I mean, I guess kind of it is. I was getting up on a soapbox during the time when we were talking about the plot to kill Eve, after they realized that Eve is evil, that Danielle Roget was her life force, and they need to destroy her. And so Julia and Barnabas and the professor are making this plan to go over to Nicholas's and scope it out and come up with their game plan. And Julia has a dream that Barnabas is going to die and Barnabas is going to get hurt. And Julia tells Barnabas about this, and Barnabas scoffs at her. And like I said, it's not really a profound point or anything, but it shows Cara's personality and her takes no crap attitude, and just her response to this just cracks me up every time I hear it.
So when she goes to tell Barnabas about this the next morning, he completely ridicules her and tells her how silly she is for putting all of her faith in a dream. And she tells him that she thinks Nicholas is setting up a trap for him and waiting for Barnabas to walk right into it.
Yeah.
And okay, I just have to say this because sometimes I really hated the way that Barnabas responds to Julia sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Julia is smart as a whip. She's a doctor. She's a surgeon. She's a scientist. Look at all this crap that she's accomplished, even up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Barnabas uses that to be like, Julia, I'm disappointed in you. I can't believe that you would put that much stock into a dream. Barnabas, shut the hell up.
I know.
You know? It's like...
He still has to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're 200 years old?
Exactly.
Get the hell out of here.
That just makes you old. I'm sorry. It grinds my gears, y'all. It just... Shut up.
Just shut up. And Julia needed to be like, Barnabas, just shut up.
And for the record, she was absolutely right.
Yeah.
She was right.
Yeah.
And Barnabas states that even if he did believe her, it's too late to do anything about it. Yeah, okay, Barnabas. But because the plan is already set in motion, he's already sent Professor Stokes to the house to scope it out.
So this will be the last clip that I add of Cara. It was the last episode that we did together before we found out about her diagnosis. And as some of you may have noticed, the last couple of episodes that we did while she was dealing with chemo, while she was dealing with cancer, she wasn't as chatty, she wasn't as talkative, but she still had a heart to do this podcast. So it was really valiant of her to even try to do it while she was feeling so crappy. But this next clip, it is a lengthy one. We were talking about when Vicky was grieving Jeff because Jeff disappeared in front of her face because he was actually Peter Bradford. He disappeared back into the past, and we were just having a conversation about the gravity of that and what that looked like for them and what that made us feel. And again, like the clip with Millicent, it resonated with me, it being Vicky's final goodbye. It made me reflect on her last moments and all of the things that were done and everything that was said and the roller coaster of emotions that we all felt in her last few weeks and her last few days. And with that being said, I don't really want to drag it out and ramble on, so I'll just let the clip play. But it is a lengthy one, but definitely worth including in this episode.
Yeah.
And he begs her, let me take care of you. And he knows that she doesn't love him the way that he loves her, but he'd do anything for her and anything to make her happy. I mean, it's incredibly thoughtful.
And can I say this? Like, I feel like even beyond him and Josette, that was a feeling that he never got to experience with Josette.
Definitely.
Because it was an arranged thing.
Yeah.
And it was as rushed as their parents could rush it.
Definitely.
And I don't doubt his love for Josette. Obviously, what he put people through for the love of Josette.
Definitely.
But this is something, a part of true love, raw love, like true raw love, that he never got to experience with Josette. That, like you just said, like he would do, even though he knows her feelings aren't reciprocated, he would still do anything for her.
Yeah.
Because of his love alone for her, not her love for him.
Yeah.
But his love alone for her.
And I know we've said it a million times, even on this show, but, you know, Vicky was intended in the beginning to be the replacement for Josette.
Yeah.
Like, we knew that he was grooming her for that, but
yeah,
even though Vicky would have come to it naturally because she felt such a connection to Josette, she felt such a connection to the past.
And even, real quick, he didn't even realize that in Vicky before he did all that shit to Maggie.
Yeah.
He realized that with Vicky after all that.
Yeah.
And he was like, I could have been with Vicky the whole time and not had to done this whole brainwash thing, being Josette and stuff. Like,
yeah, Vicky would have
honestly, Maggie, just her looks were the reincarnation of Josette, but Vicky in her soul,
yeah,
was the reincarnation of Josette.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
Like,
yes.
And he didn't, that's something he didn't realize until after the whole Maggie thing.
I agree.
Which is why I think he so delicately handles Vicky the way he does.
Yeah.
And loves her the way he does.
Yeah.
Because it's so natural. Like you said,
yeah,
it's just so natural.
And I think that there's a lot of Josette qualities in Vicky.
Definitely.
Like you said, like I think you're right. I think that Josette is reincarnated in the spirit of Vicky.
Yeah.
You know,
just because Maggie looks like her.
And that is one thing that I love that they did in the revival series, that they made Vicky be Josette's double.
Absolutely.
Because Vicky was so much like Josette on her own before Barnabas started grooming her.
Absolutely.
She was so much like Josette all on her own.
Absolutely.
And
that was the right thing to do.
So I don't know. That's why at first I didn't like it, but then when you dig a little bit deeper, you're like, absolutely though, that is the right call. That is the right call.
One day we'll get into the revival series after we're done.
Yes, we will.
And we'll talk about this again.
Yes, we will.
I thought it was an absolute right move for them to do for the revival. It was an absolute right. It just cuts it just cuts a lot of unnecessary things out to keep the story moving.
Absolutely.
And we'll get into it one day, guys.
Yeah,
we're going to keep moving on this.
I just had to mention it because
But you're right.
What a perfect call.
You can't talk about this and not bring up that stuff as well.
But this man bore his soul to her.
Yeah.
During this whole proposal, let me take care of you thing.
Yeah.
And she swiftly turned him down.
Yeah.
And her reasoning is because she'll never stop loving Jeff, and that her love for him will always exist, so a part of him will always exist.
Right.
And
Vicky, being the woman she is, she just doesn't want to be unfair to Barnabas.
Yeah.
And that is so commendable of a woman, period.
Yeah.
Like, look, I do love you and I care about you, and yes, I would marry you, but I gotta let you know that it will never be 100% because I feel about this person that way.
And if Peter / Jeff had simply died, I think Vicky,
like Burke.
Yeah. I think that Vicky
you can let go.
Yeah, I think she might have let go of him. He didn't die in the way that someone would
not in
die.
Not in the traditional I died way.
Yeah.
He disappeared right in front of her face.
Yeah.
So to her, and I would be the same friggin' way, he didn't die. He just left me.
Yeah.
He left, and I can go to him.
If you try hard enough,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Christopher Reeve, I love you. But it's like a somewhere in time thing for me.
Yeah.
You know, literally, it's a somewhere in time. Can I get there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you try hard enough, yes, you can get there.
Definitely.
Oh.
And all of that aside, Barnabas does not try to empathize with her.
Yeah.
He doesn't try to understand.
If anybody can understand, it's Barnabas.
But he doesn't try. He doesn't try. He only feels her rejection.
Yeah.
Like her rejection of him, and that he tells her, instead of, oh, Vicky, I understand, I can totally grant, well, let this be our final farewell.
I mean, you got to let go. You got to know when to let go.
And she tells him she'll never forget him. And we didn't realize that this would, in fact, be
actually
their final farewell.
Goodbye.
This actually was.
How many times have they said goodbye, or, oh, it's not going to work out, or no, we won't be together. We're just friends. This was the ultimate and last goodbye.
Yeah. And
like you said, in the moment, you don't realize until you realize that was the final goodbye.
Absolutely. I mean, at least in this moment.
Yeah.
Spoilers again. They will see each other once more. We're not there yet, but we'll get there later on.
Yeah.
But so once Barnabas leaves, Vicky goes back to crying for Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And the man appears. He appears in his Peter Bradford clothes, still wearing his wedding ring, though. Still wearing that wedding ring. Her love for him brought him back, but he implores her, begs her, please forget me. You have to forget me. The second that the clock strikes 8, he will return to 1795, and he will never come back.
He cannot come back.
He cannot come back. It's only about 5 minutes away from this point. So she begs him to take her back with him. Just take me back with you. Yeah. We'll survive. And he tries to refuse, but now that Vicky has him back, oh, no, there's no friggin' way. She's letting him go without her.
Yeah.
And downstairs, while this is all happening upstairs with Peter and Vicky, Roger is leaving for London on a business trip. And Elizabeth and Barnabas are seeing him off, and Elizabeth wonders what Barnabas is doing in the drawing room because she heard a man upstairs in Vicky's room. And I thought it was you.
I thought you were upstairs.
And Barnabas, seeming to realize what has happened, he hauls ass upstairs, runs, and they get to Vicky's room just in time to see her and Peter disappear. Again, I don't know what to feel.
Like, I cannot tell you, and I almost want to cry, honestly, but I cannot tell you, every time I watch this scene, the gravity of this scene, that it hit me the first time I saw it, and it still hits me every time I watch it. Just everything that they had been through with Vicky after Jeff disappearing, after everything they'd been with her, and after everything Vicky has put them through, and the whole convincing Vicky move on, and Vicky's like, no, this is for real, like, I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
The gravity of that scene, that just right in time, but not
just a second too late.
Just a second too late.
Yeah, yeah.
And they walk in. You are so happy but it's like so depressing.
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, just to see Barnabas walk in just in time, and he walks towards them and
he's like,
doesn't make it in time. Doesn't make it in time.
God.
Like this was an ending of an era that started when the whole show began.
Yeah.
I mean, Dark Shadows started with Victoria Winter's journey to Collinwood,
and she's just gone.
All of the voiceovers belong to Vicky, and we begin a new chapter without Vicky in it. And as a viewer, like you said, especially through the first walkthrough, especially that first time I ever saw it, it hit me so hard.
It's like, are we really going to go the rest of the show without Vicky?
Yeah.
When it started with Vicky?
Even Barnabas said it.
How are we going to do this?
Yeah, even Barnabas said it. He was like, what are we supposed to do without Vicky? What are we supposed to do without? He said, I don't know what we're going to do without her.
Elizabeth said it. Barnabas said it. Maggie said it when she took her place. What are we going to do without Vicky?
Yeah.
I can't replace her.
So, yeah, like, we're going to learn how that looks, y'all.
Yeah.
We're going to learn how it looks.
So finally, to close us out today, I want to just add a couple of clips that were sent to me by Danielle over at Tarot Collinwood and by Jewel from Resident of Collinwood. Just a few thoughts on what they had to say about Cara, and I really appreciate their words. It's very beautiful. And once again, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me your time and helping me celebrate my sister and everything that she meant to this podcast and to the Dark Shadows community. And it's really been nice hearing her voice and hearing her laugh and hearing her passion. It's been really great, and I just appreciate you all so much. And we are going to be coming out with some new episodes soon. Again, I'm not entirely sure how that looks, but they will be coming your way as soon as I have them. And for all the housekeeping items, our contact information has not changed. It is still the same, Between the Shadows 2021 at Gmail, on Facebook, on Instagram, and I feel like it's only fitting for Cara to close us out.
Until next time, guys, we'll just keep it between us and the shadows. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Hi, my name is Joel Sains. For those who know, I have a podcast called Resident of Collinwood. I had a very, very intelligent, beautiful young woman on this channel named Cara Tillitz, who sadly passed away. And when you listen to her talk, it wasn't just the energy and knowledge and passion she brought out to Dark Shadows. When she talked about it, you could tell that's the passion she had for life. And the genuine caring for other people, to want to talk to them. Because when I bring somebody on, I don't just hit record. I literally sit there and talk to them. And just shoot the breeze. And I have a lot of easygoing people on here. And I say this in no offense to anybody I bring on here or anybody else I bring on here, but she was one of the most easygoing, intelligent, full of life, full of energy people I ever had the privilege of having on here. And I mean that. I want to give my deepest sympathies to her family and her closest of friends. What a caring, kind human being. Very, very nice person. And I just want to thank Christine for giving all of us the opportunity to send her a recording to do this. Thank you, Christine. And most important, thank you, Cara. Not just thank you for your contribution to Dark Shadows. That's easy. Thank your contribution for being a genuinely honest, good person. A great person. And I mean that.
Hey, this is Danielle, aka Penny Dreadful, and Kristen, I am so happy that you're putting this episode together as a tribute to Cara. what an appropriate and wonderful thing you're doing. And I really am very appreciative of that and of the two of you. I'm so honored to have met Cara and yourself in person at the Dark Shadows Remembrance event. And I've had the pleasure of listening to every one of your podcast episodes, and I love every single one of them. Cara will be so missed, but I know that she will be with us in spirit at the Dark Shadows 60th anniversary event, and I'm so glad that you're still going, Kristen, to that event. So I will see you there. Much love to you and to your family, and I wish you all the best with continuing the podcast, which I'm very glad you're doing. So I will see you this summer. Much love to you too, Cara. I know you're in a happier place right now, and you're probably watching the years 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of Dark Shadows, the lost years of Dark Shadows that only exist in the better place where we are currently not. So, but one day, hey, we're going to watch those episodes with you. All right, take care. Bye.
The phoenix is a legendary bird that is said to live forever, and it's said that there are only one on Earth at a time. It has a scarlet head and body, and its eyes are sea blue, and its wings are iridescent. Try to picture that beautiful bird flying high in the clouds. The flap of its wings as it flies from century to century. It doesn't grow old for 100 years, and even then it doesn't lose its beauty. Then one day, it feels its wings growing heavier, and it knows it hasn't much time. It hears death calling, and it knows what it must do. It starts on its last long flight in search of the very tallest palm tree. It gathers up all the sweet-smelling spices, and it builds a very special nest at the top of the tree. And then, at dawn, the phoenix awakens and begins to sing. And then the sun rises, and all the rays become very strong. They beat down on the dry nest, and slowly it starts to smolder, and the phoenix fans the spark with its wings until the entire nest is ablaze, and the beautiful feathers, they all catch on fire. The whole bird is consumed in flames, burned to ashes, and from these ashes, the phoenix is reborn to live on and spend the next 100 years in paradise.
You've been listening to Between the Shadows, a Dark Shadows podcast. All original Dark Shadows music, video clips, images, and media are not owned by Between the Shadows and is the sole property of Dan Curtis Productions and is only used to promote Dark Shadows and should not be distributed, copied, or reproduced.